Hi BookTube. I've come back a little sooner than I planned. If you keep an eye on the community tab at all, I said I wasn't giving up on my channel. I was probably going to wait until 2025 to come back. But I decided to tip my toe back in the BookTube pool a little. Not as intensely as I intend to or had been in the past. Yeah, just my cat's right here, so if you see some movement, that's what's going on. So, the reason I decided to come back was because I have a TBR planned to actually share with you, and like a themed TBR plan. I know it's nonfiction November, and I actually am reading a lot of nonfiction, but my goal this November is, I'm calling it Finish Him November. Like in Street Fighter, I can't say it as cool as they do. But yeah, that's the idea here anyways. I have a stack of unfinished books that I would like to get finished this month. And then I have some other books that I want to talk about. So yeah, first is The City of Dee by Manil Suri. I'm 142 pages into this one out of 381 pages, and so this is the last book in this series. I think they're, sorry about the cat, I think it's like the Indian God series or something like that. I don't know if it actually has a name. But the first one, The Death of Vishnu, was really good. I really enjoyed that one. The second one, The Age of Shiva, I didn't enjoy it as much. This one so far, I am enjoying it. So this book is about a future Mumbai that is being, I believe it's a future Mumbai, that is being like destroyed by nuclear bombs. And we are following two people. The first is a young, recently married woman looking for her husband, and the second is a young gay man. And it talks a lot about as well the differences between like the Hindu people, the Hindu practitioners, and Muslim, and like the struggles between those two different religious groups. Yeah, and the next, some of these books are, I started like at the beginning of this year. Future Shock by Alvin Toffler. This is really good, kind of dated though. So this is a nonfiction. It is, I have lots of tabs. I think it's from the 1970s. It's interesting because it's so, he's trying to talk about the future. Yeah, 1970, exactly. So it's interesting. I keep looking at this and go, like, what would he think about how it actually is now? So he's basically talking about the different trends that were around in the 1970s and how they were likely to play out. And he talks about, like, I guess, like, immunizing. That's the word I'm looking for. Immunizing ourselves against this future shock, this future that's happening faster and faster and faster. And we know that that happens. You know, once technology gets started, the progress starts to move faster and faster and faster. So yeah, it's interesting to see what he thought would come to be in the 1970s and what hasn't come. So it's quite interesting. I always think that a lot because I feel like we're in really difficult times right now. Like we are at the crux of like history being made. So it's interesting to read what people in the past thought about it. Speaking of being in the crux of history and, you know, politically relevant books, I finally decided to pick up The Handmaid's Tail. I have a like-hate relationship with Margaret Atwood. That's what you can call it. I don't particularly enjoy her as a person, but I can't deny that this book is very culturally relevant. So I decided to pick it up. I was making good headway through it. I'm on page 180 out of 358. So yeah, more than halfway through. Yeah, just about halfway through actually. Yeah, it's The Handmaid's Tale. If you don't know what this is about, like, congratulations on, like, not paying attention to, like, American politics. I'm Canadian, and I'm stressed out about the election coming up, because it will have ripple effects here in Canada, because we have our own little mini Trump in Polyev. Don't argue with me in the comments about politics. I will probably just delete and ban you. But yeah, anyways, so Handmaid's Tale. This is a more recent pickup, and then I set it down because I wanted to start a new project, but it didn't come to fruition. And so this is The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And this has, like, been all over social media as well. It's about PTSD and trauma and dealing with that, and it's like the first big chunk of it is like describing it, and then like there's a little section at the back about different ways to deal with it. I'm primarily reading this because I work in mental health, so like there's like I'm not gonna say like I'm taking the techniques from this and using them at work, you know, because I'm not a trained professional in that regard. Like, I'm not a trained psychiatrist, psychologist. So just the little things that you can do in your day-to-day life to help other people is what I'm getting from that. So it's also a really good read as well. This book, I do think I started this book back in January, and okay, I'm only 24 pages in, but I also read the introduction, and actually this is going to tie in with another book as well. So this is the Poetics of Space by Gaston Bachelard, and it is very intense. Like, look at how tiny the writing is, and it's philosophy. That I was trying to say like theology, but it's philosophy. And like I'm taking notes and stuff, and I'm taking notes in reference to House of Leaves, because this book is mentioned quite frequently in this philosopher is mentioned quite frequently in House of Leaves. So there's that. Yeah, so I'm gonna try and finish that one too. And this one I know I started either this January or last January, I can't remember. It's been sitting here forever. It's one of my favorite books, and it's a reread, and I've already read it, but this time I want to go through and tab it through. And it is... Do you need to know what that? It's philosophy. What more do you need to know about a book besides it's philosophy and it's not relevant to real life? Just totally. Philosophers, I'm kidding. Kind of. Anyways, this is The Grey House by Marianne Petrosian. And, yeah, this is one of my favorite books. It is... talked about it a lot. I feel like it's getting old, me talking about it. So... it's about these students at a boarding school that takes in students with disabilities, but there's more than like what meets the surface. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of like uncanny stuff. One of the kids is literally eating the house, the walls of the house. They start talking about like the underside. What's it called? Been a while. Like there's the outside, and then there's the... they don't mention it on the back. Do you remember what they call it? I may have to start this book all over again. I think it's just called The Underground. Yeah. Mixing it with Stranger Things there. Yeah, and there's like creepy, like magical realism type stuff that's really good. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't feel like describing it anymore. It's not my job as a booktuber to describe what books are. Okay, so those are the ones I have to finish. So there's 6 books there. But because they're all like, you know, just books that don't have many pages left in them, as if I just started reading them. I do have a few, yeah, oh, these are all new acquisitions. 2 of them I bought brand new. 1 of them I bought used. So let me go into that. So this one I bought used just like a few days ago. Time. What is time? It's all messed up in my head. So this is Jesus and John Wayne by Kristen Covey's-Demez, because I always like to have a book about religion on the go, and none of these are about religion. I guess you could argue that The Handmaid's Tale is about religion, but nonfiction about religion. So this is just what it says on this cover: how white evangelicals corrupted a faith and fractured a nation. So again, in regards to, this is talking about U.S. politics. It is happening here in Canada as well. I live in New Brunswick. I'm not from New Brunswick, but I live here now and have for almost 3 years now. And we're very much leaning into the like far religious right. Yeah. Especially with some of their candidates for election. Yeah. So it's interesting read. So it's about politics and religion. I guess, oh my god, is that the Duggars? 1 second. Oh my god, it is! It's the Duggars! Sorry. It sounds weird, just, I don't love the Duggars. I love talking about the Duggars. They are just, oh, man. Anyways, distracted. It's funny, I could recognize them through a flip through of a book. Anywho, yeah, so, like, if you don't know, the religious right is corrupting the Conservative Party. And I'm sure it's happening in more. I am overwhelmed with politics, so I'm trying not to pay attention to, like, other countries, like, the political system, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty sure it's happening in other, like, Western nations. So that's, yeah. I don't want to say, like, I am aware, and I am very much, like, against things like Israel and stuff like that. Again, I don't want to talk too much about politics, but just know where I stand is just, like, I'm very anti-Israel. Like, I will come out and say it, anti-Israel, pro-Palestine. Yeah. So, I know there's religious stuff going on there, but, yeah, okay. Moving on, I'm a little rusty. These are 2 books that I bought new. This one I bought when I went to PEI on a little trip. Yeah, and I read a book by this author before, so I knew I'd like it. This is The Knowing by Tanya Talaga. I read 7 Fallen Feathers by her, and it's hard to say that you enjoyed a book that's about a topic like that, but I thought it was a very well written book with an important thing. So I'm just going to read this thing on here. For generations, Indigenous people have known that their family members disappeared, many after being sent to residential schools, Indian hospitals, and asylums, a coordinated system designed to destroy who First Nations, Métis, and Inuit are. This is one of Canada's greatest open secrets, an unhealed wound that until recently lay hidden by shame and abandonment. The Knowing is an unfolding of Canadian history unlike anything we've read before. So yeah, that's what that is about. So, like, I guess Seven Fallen Feathers is like a microcosm of, like, Indigenous issues that are faced in Canada, and, like, The Knowing is her taking a step back and looking at the bigger history of what allowed something like Seven Fallen Feathers to happen. And the last book, but not the last book I'm going to talk about, it'll make sense in a second. So, in case you don't know, I am very, just teensy tiny obsessed with House of Leaves. Maybe not like a teensy tiny, maybe a bit more obsessed than I let on. Anyways, so I've been going through notes again and trying to, like, add more. And I noticed at least 5 references in House of Leaves to the siege of Dien Bien Phu. And so I decided I wanted to know more about that. So I picked up Valley of the Shadow by Kevin Boylan and Luc Olivier, which is about the siege of Dien Bien Phu. And I knew it was paying off. The first line of the first chapter talks about how Dien Bien Phu is this might not mean anything if you don't know House of Leaves, but if you do, this might mean something. Dien Bien Phu is a remote valley hidden amidst the jagged mountains of northwestern Vietnam, which, according to the creation myth of the local Thai mountains people, was the legendary land of Muang Then, heaven, where the progenitors of humanity descended from heaven were taught the arts of civilization. House of Leaves has a lot to do with religion and creation and lots of like origin stories as well. So like that first line was just like so significant. So yeah, I'll be reading that as well. And lastly, I'm gonna be doing another Bible study. So I have my handy dandy Bible right here. I am reading the NET version, and I do often have like other versions to check like phrases and wording and stuff too. So yeah, but this was like the cheapest journaling Bible I could find, and it's a nice color, so that's why I got that edition. But I found this book to go through, Esther by Beth Moore. It's tough being a woman, and I've had trouble with like condensed Bible studies before, just because the people tend to be more conservative and literal leaning than I am personally myself. Beth Moore seems like an okay person. I've Googled her, so yeah, this just seemed interesting. Flipped through and I didn't see anything too problematic, so I'm just gonna do that as well. So yeah, I do, like, if this is your first video of me, I seem like a very contradictory reading something like Handmaid's Tail and Jesus and John Wayne and like ranting against the religious right, and then being like, oh, by the way, my brother just sneezed. Sorry, I'm not gonna edit the video, so and then, by the way, like, I am Christian. Yeah, I'm just not like far right literal Christian. And that's it. That's also the cat meowing because it's close to supper time. So let me know what you'll be reading in November, and thank you for watching.